Good morning. I'm set up on the edge of a marsh. These deer should be going back and forth, running the edge of this thing, cruising, checking for does, bedding out in that mess. It's a lot of high grass, 10, 12 foot high grass. Perfect bedding habitat. Behind me is a lake. It's kind of open woods, but a little more open than what I'm used to, but it looks good. I may have to make a long shot in here. Possibly 40-yard shot. I hope not. I'm hoping they come on this side. Give me about a 20-25-yard shot. I'm up high in a tree. The wind's blowing pretty steady, but it's gusting. I ain't got a whole lot of cover, so I got real high. Should be a good morning. Well, I'm hunting today with Mike Minton and Ralph Jones, and Mike just texted me, said Ralph shot a 10-point. So these deer are on their feet moving. I guess we'll sit here a little while longer and then go drag a deer out of here. Been an awesome morning already. While Mike and I are waiting on Ralph's deer to pass, giving it a little bit of time just in case it was a bad shot, my son Matthew is set up in what we affectionately call the bottom. It's a strip of hardwoods in between a marsh and a CRP field. We pretty much always see some kind of buck activity in this strip during the rut. He's watching this little buck come through. He passes on it. Could have shot it, obviously. It's really close to him, giving him plenty of shot opportunities. Meantime, my son-in-law, he's in a different area. Close to a bed area, but it's kind of a strip of woods. It's got an ag field on one side, and then it's got some corn. I think it's soybeans on one side, corn on the other side, if I remember right. I'm doing this voiceover pretty much several weeks after the hunt, trying to keep everyone's hunt intact. We all saw lots of deer. We're back at Matthew's spot. He had another buck come out through the CRP. Sometimes they'll skirt that CRP around us, and sometimes they'll walk the edge of the swamp, go in and out of the marsh swamp area. But the majority of them, they'll end up in that hardwood strip sometime during the day when they do the little circling around checking for does. So it's a really good spot. It's especially a good spot for videoing deer because it's not as thick as what we typically hunt. This is more like what we typically hunt in Alabama, really thick stuff, bedding habitat. The first day or two we didn't have a camcorder with Tom, so I had two of them. I let him borrow one. Getting back to Matthew's hunt. He's got a buck coming down out of the bedding habitat on a hill. This is another day's hunt. Different location. I'm trying to throw all these hunts together. We got so many, can't keep up with them. But he calls this buck too. It makes him turn, comes down, and it's a nice buck. He's fixing to try to get a shot on this buck right here. Now you heard him grunt. It didn't sound like one of them store-bought grunt calls. He uses his mouth like I do. Guys, it doesn't necessarily have to sound perfect. This buck responded to his grunt even though his voice was scratchy and it didn't come out the way he wanted it to. You see the buck still responded to it. During the rut, they respond to a lot of things, and not all deer sound the same. So some of them grunt really low, some of them grunt really high pitched, in between. I've even heard some sound more like a frog than a deer. All that noise is that camera mount that he's got on there, spring loaded, and when he draws back it bounces that camera. So he's looking, he's trying to find an opening, and man, he just told me, he said, Daddy, I tried as hard as I could to pick a spot. That might have been the best opening he had right there. And you know, I got to give him credit where credit's due. He decided that there just was not a good ethical shot to be took on this buck, so the buck walked on past. I ain't gonna say he let it walk. The buck did what he did. I'm sure he would have loved to have been able to get an arrow in that deer. Yeah, he didn't really ease it back down, did he? Now back to me and Mike. We're getting out of the woods, taking all our gear back to the truck, fixing to get over there and start blood trailing the deer that Ralph shot. So stay tuned with us. You can see what kind of habitat we're hunting. It's beautiful out there. Kentucky's got some really good deer woods. Of course, I got a video of the scrape. Ralph shot a deer, 10-pointer, he said. He thought it was a good hit. We can't find the arrow, nor can we find blood. So we searched pretty hard for blood right at the shot site. And he marked the last place that he saw the deer. We went to it, looked for blood all up and through there, and never have found a drop of blood. We're grid searching now. What I'm doing is I'm walking the edge of this bed area. I already jumped one deer in there. We thought it might have been him. I looked around real careful right in that area for blood. Couldn't find any. So I'm thinking it was probably another deer we jumped. But we've gone 600 yards down the edges bedding, and we've not found a drop of blood anywhere, nor have we found a deer. So I'm going to zigzag my way back that direction. I'm not real sure where Mike and Ralph is. They're out there grid searching as well. We may not find this deer. He may have missed it and we just can't find the arrow. Don't know. He said he thought it was a really good shot. This is actually the first time he's ever shot at a deer. So it's possible the deer could have jumped the string like a lot of deer do, and maybe he shot over the deer's back. We'll go back and give the site a real hard look, see if we can find the arrow before we leave. Well, we never found the deer, but 2 days later we got the trail cam picture of this deer that he missed, and he looks perfectly healthy, so we did get closure on it.
Is that one?
I used to have a stand right in there.
Did you?
Mm-hmm. In a maple tree right down there.
Yeah, I should have climbed that white oak, because that's where all the deer ended up being.
So how many deer did you see?
Oh, 3 bucks. 2, 3, 4, so 7 or 8.
How big the biggest buck?
Biggest buck. Says I don't know. It's either 2.5 or it may have been 3.5. I don't know. The body's so much bigger, but I'm just going off of what that wide 7-point looked like. The one looked bigger. Like bigger body. That's what I was telling them downstairs. I was like, if you had in Alabama, if this deer was standing behind a tree or something like that, that deer is getting shot.
They are much bigger. Body. They're well fed, ain't they?
Yeah.
All these ag deer. They got plenty to eat.
It may have been 3.5-year-old. But you may have a picture of it. It was like a 7-point. It was 3.
I got a picture of a couple 7-points.
Hey.
You know, walking around, I can hear them walking around. There were deer down there with the corn this morning.
Did you hear the one blow at me when I got in the stand?
I heard one blowing way down there, yeah. That must have been you.
Yeah.
But I mean, I had them blowing at me too. Well, not at me, but dead under me. But I had, heck, what was the first thing that came through? That little 7-point was the first thing that came through. And then had 3 does come in, were dead under my tree forever, eating acorns. The nub head came in there and started bothering them. No, the 3 does came in first, and the nub head. And the nub head went up the hill and started stomping his foot at something. And all 3 of those does that are dead under my tree just decided, we're going to snort at whatever he's stomping his foot. So they're just under my tree snoring. And it ended up being that 7-point. He came down there and went the other way, but yeah, it was.
Little short town 7-pointer.
Yeah. And I had technically he's a 6-point. Would have been a 7-point if he hadn't broke his G2 off. Bleach white antlers. Bleach white, like deadhead colored antlers.
Well,
But I videoed him. Came through at 11:30. He was the latest one. I had deer running up on top of that hill across from me, and then I saw that. I just looked up at one point and saw a big body out there, And as it was walking away from me, and I couldn't even get my binoculars or anything up in time, I was trying to grunt to stop it, but I could tell the antlers were outside its ears. So it was wider than even the 11 point that I saw the other day. So it's a different deer.
Cool.
But this afternoon, another little buck came through. It was in the woods to my right. Heard some running around down there. Nubhead came back and ate some corn at some point. I think I saw 15 deer total. Just one shooter, and I had no chance of making that shot.